Always had a passion for trebuchets. Ever since I started building medium-sized models in my teenage years, I was really impressed by how much energy such a simple design can put into a projectile. The last one that I built is this one right here. I finished this one when I was 17, and ever since I just really wanted to make this one in the actual size. This is what this video is gonna be about. It's me, my friends, and my dad creating that monster here in the back. So it's gonna be the entire building process, all the failures, and of course we're also gonna shoot some 10-kilogram heavy projectiles up to 200 meters far. Enjoy! Before we start building, let me go through the basic physics of a trebuchet. Every single trebuchet has a counterweight, a throwing arm, and a sling with a projectile. The energy is stored in the pulled up counterweight, and when the release pin is pulled, the arm goes up and the sling pulls the projectile, and then at some point the projectile takes over the arm, releases from the hook and flies through the air. Starting the initial discussion. Here we have the material, 14 by 14. One of the first challenges is gonna be that this is not completely leveled. It's slightly declining to the left. Obviously this whole thing needs to be perfectly leveled, otherwise you will have all kinds of forces in the system that you don't want. We decided to follow as much as possible the construction of the smaller model and defined a scale of 1 to 7. This allowed us to take all needed measurements directly from the model, which turned out to be very effective and straightforward throughout the project. To keep everything authentic and like in the medieval times, we didn't want to apply any lacquer to the wood. But for a nice clean look of the trebuchet, we went for sanding all the surfaces on the beams. Trebuchets used to be built in front of castles, and they didn't have a tiled parking space available like we do. So to decrease the chance of these heavy war machines sinking into the ground, the trebuchets had these diamond-shaped bases underneath to increase surface area. It would not be needed for our trebuchet, but it looks cool, so we did it anyways. First material breakage.
Geh weiter, musst du das da dokumentieren.
Just gonna glue it. No one will know. After that minor incident, everything went smooth and the base was done within 3 hours. This foundation gave us already a better idea on how big the trebuchet will be once it's done. Next were the triangular support structures that will have to stand against all the forces the counterweight will induce. These were the hardest to get right, and it took us the rest of the day just to finish one of the 2 sides. Having my dad's well-equipped carpentry workshop available made things a lot easier and really sped up some of the steps needed. One side of the construct is almost done. Now we assemble everything at the ground because here it's the easiest to maneuver around, you don't find gravity all the time. These guys here were quite time consuming because we wanted them to be square. Now this is not needed, but it's more, you know, medieval style because back then they weren't able to mill out stuff round. So we basically milled it, and then with the chisel we made sure that it's square. As for these supports, they are cut into the wood because if the axis, you know, starts creating forces with the counterweight in this direction or that direction, you know, that first goes down these beams and then in here. Here it's very important that, you know, if your beam would end here, then this part of the wood couldn't support and it would just fly off. So we need to make sure to keep a good amount of length of wood. It is already day 2 of the building and we are ready to put up the supports. Set timeline was 3 weekends for finishing everything, as I had to go to Asia for QC for a few months right after that. And I just really wanted to see it shoot before leaving. We did keep up the pace and always worked Friday to Sunday from 9 to 8 PM with a daily 30-minute lunch break. Parts are together, everything seems to fit. The throwing arm is the thickest part of the assembly. Everywhere you only have 1 beam, but here you actually have 2 beams. However, towards the end, you don't want it to be heavy because all of this needs to accelerate and you want it lightweight for maximum efficiency. This is why here in the model it's tapered, and we're also gonna taper it on the big one. First part of the throwing arm is prepared and you see that it gets thinner. It's a bit of a gamble because of course the thinner you make it, further your trebuchet will shoot, but yeah, if you make it too thin, it's gonna break. The throwing arm gets a steel reinforcement, so this is the main axis, and this is the axis of the counterweight here connected with steel bar, and then up here we have an aluminium, just in case that the arm snaps, that the arm doesn't fly through there. This is already the second weekend and Franz prepared the metal parts needed for the arm in his workshop during the week. These steel frames hold the two beams for the throwing arm together, and since the arm is tapered, we had to secure them additionally with nails. The throwing arm has to hold up against the swinging counterweight, so we added two big beams on the section where both steel axes will go through. We did not use any wood screws in the entire building process, as these tend to break, especially on a trebuchet where everything is very dynamic during the shot. The main steel axis is about 70 kilograms heavy, so we couldn't just get it into place by hand. We mounted a beam on top of the triangular support, using it as a crane. The electric winch pulled the axis up and we secured it into place with belts. Now it's time to install the throwing arm. Also here it is too heavy to just lift it up, and we are again using the winch. So we're slowly getting the arm into position. Winch is here at the bottom. Rope is gonna go up and down. We're gonna lift it up, and the axe is already suspended, and we're gonna try to just push it straight through. And if Franz made everything aligned and 90 degrees, then it should be all in the middle and perfectly aligned. If not, then the counterweight is just gonna smash into the construction. The holes for the axes are a tight fit, and it was quite tricky to get everything in position and aligned. Ooh. Overall, it took us about 2 hours just to get the arm into position and the axis pushed through. Wow, schau wie wichtig das ist. Nice! So, arm is in the construction and it's in the middle, which means Franz did a good job. Next step is put in the counterweight and push that massive steel axis through, which is way oversized. Here you can see my dad making a template of the cross section of the weight box to ensure it will be the right size. My dad was a carpenter all his life, and my woodworking skills I learned from him in that exact workshop. He's retired now, but he can't sit still anyway, spending most of his time building stuff. So creating this heavy-duty counterweight box was the perfect challenge for him. We are weighting the counterweight box. Here is a weight scale. Bernd, what does it say?
Can't read it.
You can't read it? Ah! I think we broke the scale. This thing, we weighted it, is about 150 kilograms already, because oak beams were used, so it's a very dense, heavy wood. Axis itself is extremely heavy. This is, this is steel, and just that 700 millimeter long thing weighs, I would say, probably like 50 kilograms. Not sure how to get this 150 kilogram box into that construction, because we have to somehow lift it up here, slide it down there, and then get it up here somehow. We have to get that hole aligned with that hole up there. That's gonna be interesting. The rounded shape at the bottom of the box made it much easier than anticipated to move the box around. Just stepping on the side of the box lifted the other one, and we could put beams under it to repeat the same process on the other side. We are cutting oven pipes which happen to perfectly fit around the axis. They would not be needed, but we screwed up on the hole and axis fitment, so we just needed something to fill in the gap. Now that the gap is filled, we are ready to align the holes of the weight box and the throwing arm for the axis to be pushed through. For easier installation and because the box should be able to swing freely for best efficiency, we are lubricating everything nicely before putting it together. And by using a big hammer, we managed to get it all assembled. So, counterweight axis is in there. We're getting closer and closer to seeing if everything is aligned. And it's looking epic. Keep in mind that the weight is now completely empty. So we just have the 150 kilograms of the box itself and the 50 kilogram of the axis on the short side of the throwing arm. We don't need a winch yet and can still move the arm up and down easily. So, it's a giant swing basically. First bigger problem, the gap here about let's say 4 centimeter distance, while over here it's more like 5.5. And we have the same issue on the other side but reversed. So here it's too tight and here it's, well, not too wide, but yeah, somehow we have to get that counterweight completely straight in there, because otherwise this corner here could smash when it's swinging into the construction and that would be disastrous. Winch concept on the model is as follows. It's mounted to the beams and there is this gear here that locks the winch into position. Then the rope goes down here over the turning point and up to the beam. We're gonna do the exact same thing on the big one. Hope all the forces will play out as expected. You can see me making the holes for the supports of the winch. Totally, we counted 12 big holes we had to make. Something we underestimated and what definitely influenced the timeline for this build. Second part for the axis of the winch is done. It's gonna go right here. Okay, we are positioning the winch and we have to make sure that the weight is clearing it. Yeah. We decided that this is gonna be the final winch position. Now it is a bit of a compromise because, as you see, the maximum projectile size is basically this, so it's kind of like maybe like a volleyball or something like this. Shouldn't be any bigger because otherwise we're gonna rip out the winch when we shoot. This is the winch interface prototype because we have to see how the ergonomics are. We believe that 3 handles are enough, so let's try. I can turn. Yeah. We mounted a pole on top of the throwing arm to kind of show where the rope with the projectile is gonna be. Now, why do we do that? It's because we need to ensure that when we throw, that we don't hit the bottom of the roof right here. So we have about, I don't know, maybe like 0.5 meter clearance. So we really have to make sure the trebuchet stays like this. If it moves slightly, it could literally happen that we throw a stone into the bottom of the roof. Weekend is about to end. Now what we want to do as the last thing before leaving the site is filling the box with water. We have these bags right here. We put the bag inside, fill it with water, and we can already see, you know, how does this whole construction react once there's a couple 100 kilograms in the box for, you know, 5 to 6 days. Very excited for next weekend. I hope we can already shoot the first projectile across this cornfield. Very excited. Weekend number 3, the goal is to shoot already, hopefully with full weight. Right now on the way to Bernd and Florian, we're gonna pick up the stones because for some reason they have about a ton of stones lying around. Here are the stones already. Bernd, why do you have these stones at home?
It's from garden.
From landscaping, okay. So that's our counterweight, about 250 kilograms in this box and 250 kilograms in that box. You're in the middle. Before loading the stones into the counterweight, we need to make sure that the weight box is straight in the structure. With these support boards we can shift the position of the axis, and that hopefully gonna help with the position of the counterweight. My dad worked during the week and finished the winch, so the mechanism is as follows. We have these T's here cut into the disc, which means when you turn, it locks itself here. And when you remove it, you can spin freely again. Hope that's gonna be enough of a leverage to pull down the weight once it's full. We're now connecting the pipe to the hood of the throwing arm. When we pull out the splint, we can change this hook right here, and that hook angle defines the release angle of the projectile. This is the ring for the rope to pull down, and here we have the pipe for the exchangeable hook angle. Ah, Bernd! Ah!
Wichtig.
That's a proper hammer. Good. Now we connected the tip of the throwing arm with the aluminium rod that goes along the arm. The idea of this is if this arm cracks for whatever reason, it doesn't kill any of the people standing around the trebuchet. Here, when it comes to this pipe that Bernd attached here, the reason why it's a pipe is because we have different release angles. So we have these hooks, all of them are bent at slightly different angles. And what this allows us is we can basically change when the projectile is released. The steeper this angle is, the lower the projectile will fly. So with this hook right here, we should shoot really high, and with this hook right here, we should shoot lower. So we don't know what's the ideal angle. This is why we have this exchange system. Okay, Bernd, move it up. Uh-oh, what's this? So here we have basically no space, and here we have all the space. Fuck! We ordered this on Amazon. This is for sailing. It's our release mechanism. So basically you pull here and then it opens. Bernd and I are just gonna test it with human power. Bernd, pull! Seems to work. We are drilling the hole for the hemp rope. This is 14mm hemp rope, and it's gonna be used twice. So that tip is gonna go up there. Should be strong enough. This is rated for 2 tons, these 2 ropes together. Big shout out to my mom for always cooking for 500 people. It looks like after this meal we're gonna be able to shoot already. All we have to do is fill the stones into the counterweight and then we're good to go. As for the rope and the winch concept, we found different solutions on various YouTube videos, but most of them involved someone having to climb up all the way to the top of the arm to hook the rope in. That seemed a bit too risky for us, as that person would have to climb to 10 meters height for every single shot. First time using the winch. The idea is that when we're all the way up, that the ropes meet in the middle, and it seems to be working. We decided to leave the rope attached to the arm all the time, even during the shot. And that turned out to work really well. The idea is that we tie this mechanism to the turning point. So, it's going to be directly here, and that hopefully will work. Now it's only secured on the release mechanism. And we are ready to shoot once we put the projectile into the slide. Projectile will be this PET bottle, 1.5 liters. We also have this long colorful tube attached to it, so we're gonna find it in case we shoot it into the cornfield. Okay, the kids are gonna go run, find the projectile in the cornfield, and we're gonna see how far we shot. 30 meters. Well, pretty good for no weight. Now let's put these stones into this weight. Now we're gonna weight every single bucket that we're gonna put inside. So we're gonna know exactly what the counterweight is gonna be. 14 kilogram. $310 plus 150, 460 total. And the box is half full, so we probably can put a whole ton into this thing. Bernd, you have a legendary sunburn in your neck. Crap, Bernd. 597 plus 150, so we're at about 750 kilogram. We're now changing from this 1.5 kilogram PET bottle to a 5 kilogram steel weight. Much heavier weight, much heavier counterweight. Neighbors just visited. First people watching, now we have to perform. Yeah, now it's getting impressive. Fabian?
140.
140 meters.
140.
Okay, that's pretty impressive already. How deep was the projectile?
You can see it. It's like totally inside the ground.
Really buried.
Yeah.
Let's add more weight. So what happened is that the string ripped and the projectile went backwards. So this is why you never stand in front of a trebuchet or behind a trebuchet. Here we see the rope breakage. Yep, we need a stronger rope. Meanwhile, the colorful hose was shot forward. So here's one ripped end. This is a 7mm hemp rope and that's not enough. So we will go for a stronger one. Next projectile is this 8 kilogram steel weight. Now this was the 19-degree angle one, and now we're gonna do 0 degree, so we should be able to shoot higher. Okay, let's see how far we went. Should be somewhere here. Oh yeah, there we go. Somewhere down there.
Die bringen wir schon raus. Wie schön. Ja, jetzt. Aber das kann ich scheiß werden.
Switching from this 8 kilogram steel weight to a 9 kilogram stomp. That's gonna look much more impressive with that size. We're just watching the slow motion, and right here at the winch you can see how the projectile is pulled around the winch. It didn't just almost break our winch, but it almost broke our slit, and it pulls the projectile up straight. And when the arm already stops moving, basically, the projectile has to take over the arm. So we really believe this is not an efficient timing, and we could shoot much further. So I googled a bit and I found this trebuchet simulator. I put in all the data and our sling length was 4.5 meters. Now when we simulate this, we have 193 meters total throwing distance. But now when we change the sling length to 3 meters, we don't just solve our issue of the projectile getting stuck in the winch, but also when we simulate it, you will see that we actually shoot further observing this number. We definitely have to work on the sling length, so we are shortening it. We just cracked the 150-meter mark. That would be the beginning of that cornfield. So we probably shot 100, 160, something like this. Yeah, didn't expect that. Now we'll have to find it in that field. It's actually very hard to find it in here. Huh. But we have to find it because we want to shoot it again. Found it. It's right over there. Go. Next projectile is this 14 kilogram heavy stone. Obviously we go for a steel rope as well. This is way too big. Here, food for comparison. The stone in the slide. We attached again the band, so we're gonna find it because this is gonna bury itself in the soil for sure. Steel loop on the hook, going for 32 degrees. Was the 40 kilogram stone? Let's see where it impacted. Okay, it rolled all the way from here to over there. New projectile, the most expensive one. We are shooting a 360-degree camera and a 5 kilogram weight. It's wrapped in cardboard because first the projectile hits the ground and then the camera might eventually hit the projectile, and the cardboard should provide a little bit of protection at least. Also, how much is your camera?
$500.
Uh-oh. Okay, well, fingers crossed. It's a bit low. Cycling out there to the projectile. Let's hope the $500 camera is still intact.
Still working. Still working. Hopefully.
Nice. Good. Let's look at the footage. That was the trebuchet building video. It was on my bucket list ever since my teenage years to build one of that scale, and that dream finally became reality. Big shout out to my dad, Bernd, Florian and Franz for helping building this trebuchet. And of course, big thanks to my mom for cooking all the time. Hope you guys enjoyed this different kind of video. Next time it's gonna be Airsoft again.